Looking to get married?
It all starts with I do.
Hey everyone, DJ Dan here with Impressions Music and Entertainment. Today we have Cathy Davis from Cathy Davis and Company, and she is going to talk a little bit about her services. So Cathy, thank you so much for having me here today. All right, so first thing, Cathy, I wanted to find out, how long have you been officiating for?
Well, I've been officiating for about 14 years now. I actually started out doing celebration of life services and then moved into weddings about 6 years ago.
And tell me, what is Cathy Davis and Company all about? What exactly you guys all have?
So we are a team of officiants. I started out just on my own, and then I realized that things were too busy and needed to add people to my team. So I started out...
built up from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do celebration of life services, we do new life celebrations, we do vow renewals, and of course we do lots and lots of weddings.
Okay, so you mentioned that you do vow renewals, you do celebrations of life and things like that, but weddings as well, mainly weddings you do. What is it that makes you different and sets you apart from other companies as well when it comes to doing weddings and everything?
I think that me having a hospitality background, it was really important for me to build a team that really wanted to do something special and meaningful and personalized, but bring a high level of professionalism to the service. So just from the way that we dress and the way we present ourselves, we all live close to the venues that we're working at, so you don't have to worry about any of us getting stuck in traffic, for example. We know the venues well because we've worked at them a lot of times in Niagara. We give a lot of choice to our couples as well as far as personalizing the service. So we have an online resource that our couples use to build their ceremony, and it's called Uniquely You. And the couples can just go online and build their ceremony with exactly what they want in it. So they pretty much know word for word what we're going to say ahead of time. There's no hidden surprises.
So you have that pre-planned with them, and they just go online and kind of work it all out with that.
Right, and with their officiant, so they get to choose the officiant that works best for them.
Perfect.
Meet with them, make sure they have a great connection with them, and also just, there's always a plan B with a team, right? If someone got sick or if something happened to their officiant, there's always someone as a backup that can come right in.
So all of that information that they do online and everything, it's available for if somebody else needs to step in, they can kind of have a look at that and take over that event if they needed to.
Absolutely.
So Cathy, you and I have worked together before at weddings, and I remember one of the weddings that we did together where at the end of the ceremony, some of the guests came over and they said to you how emotional and how touching it was, the words and everything that were said during the ceremony. So it must be a really good feeling, but tell me a little bit more, how does it feel when you are able to do that for clients and for your guests? How does that kind of fit in together?
Well, I think essentially that's our goal, right? We want to make it sound like we've known that couple for their whole courtship, right? From the time that they met.
Right.
We want to make it really meaningful, we want to make it really personalized, and we want the guests to feel like we've gotten to get to know them, because we do. We like to get to know each and every couple, and I mean, what a thrill and honor for us to hear their story and get to tell someone's story, right?
So you're sharing it with the guests as well.
Absolutely.
While you're up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, those connections that we make and those relationships that we build, we want them to last for a long time. We really, we usually say that in our ceremonies, but we really mean it. We want those relationships to grow, and we want to be part of the family celebrations for whatever they are.
Yes.
For the next, hopefully 10 or 20 years, right? So that's why it's important to build relationships with our couples and families that we get to work with.
Okay, so during the ceremony, of course, we often provide music for the ceremony. Do you ever have a preference that you like or that you think that bride and grooms should use during especially the processional or the signing of the registry, anything like that?
We wanted just to reflect the ceremony, because the ceremony kind of sets the tone for the whole day.
Yes.
So, if it's kind of a more relaxed vibe of the ceremony, then it can be anything. We've played some really fun music, or the DJs have anyways. Of course, if there's live musicians too, it sets the tone. So if it's more formal and there's a harp player or string players there,
right,
or if the DJ's playing string music, then that kind of reflects a more serious tone, as opposed to, that's why it's so fun to have DJs, is because they can kind of play any music from any genre. they can set the whole tone for the ceremony, which kind of flows right into the reception.
So based on how they want to do, for example, their vows and everything like that, if they want it more serious kind of thing, that's where the music should follow along and follow suit with that as well.
Exactly.
And if they wanted to do more fun kind of thing, then a little bit more up-tempo, more beat style.
Yeah, and of course I think at the end when they're walking out, when we've just, had everyone rise and get to present them for the very first time as husband and wife.
Yes.
It's just a lot of fun for them to walk out and do something really fun and upbeat.
Yeah, that's something I always suggest as well to all of my bride and grooms. I always say, when during that recessional, do something fun and upbeat. Have fun with it and just go out and have a good time with that. So head on out with a bang kind of thing as you're walking down and walking out.
It's fun for me too because sometimes it's a surprise.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what music they've chosen, so it's fun to have a really fun, exciting song at the end.
Awesome. Now, one of the things as well is every time I'm at a wedding and during the ceremony, I'll be sitting off doing the music and then listening in on the ceremony. And you get to that part, which is the affirmation, and where you ask that question sometimes, you hear, I think I watch a lot of soaps and that's where this comes from, where you hear them say,
yes, TV does that.
TV does that to you. You think to yourself, where they say, is anybody going to stop this wedding from happening? And then somebody rushes in. Have you ever had anything happen?
Moment. No, we never ask, does anybody object?
Okay.
We kind of like to make it a more positive question and do the opposite of that of just asking if everybody, loves this couple and if they're going to support this couple.
So give me an example. How would you, what would you do as that?
Like the very shortest one and the most typically traditional one is who brings this woman to be married to this man.
Right.
Asked of the father walking her down the aisle, and then he would say, I do. But now a lot of times people choose to include all of their family and friends, or all of the family, or all of the parents, because quite often there's more than two sets of parents now. There's step parents, and so they want to include everybody.
Yes.
So just asking if they, love and support this couple, and if they're going to be there in their good times and their difficult times and their disappointments and their happy times, So it's just more of a positive spin on that old question that used to be in movies all the time.
Right.
The big traumatic.
That you still see on General Hospital. It happens all the time. So it's always nice to include the guests as well, though, in one form or another. And one thing that happens at the weddings quite often are the traditions where you see the lighting of the unity candles or pouring of the sand. Do you have a favorite tradition or something that you like doing?
Yeah, there's lots of new things that people are doing now. Tree planting is one of them.
Okay.
You can also include children in that. So planting a little sapling, everyone gets to help in putting a little bit of dirt and a little bit of water into the pot and making this tree something that's going to grow just like their relationship is.
Very nice.
There's a lot of wine-related ones in Niagara because we're in the heart of wine country, of course. So wine ceremonies, blending two wines together, or a love letter wine box where they write letters explaining how they fell in love and why they wanted to get married, and then they get to open that every year on their anniversary.
Ah, nice. Good.
So that one's become popular, but my favorite is one that's called the ring warming. So that's where the rings are tied together, and either before the ceremony starts in a larger setting or in an intimate wedding, they can be sent around during the ceremony, and everybody gets to hold them in their hands and give them good wishes.
So you're passing them around through the guests.
So every guest gets to hold them and participate in the service by, kind of passing their good wishes, and it's a beautiful photographic moment too for the photographers. They get to take pictures of the guests, holding the rings and kind of holding them and giving their, positive energy onto the rings before they actually get to exchange them. And then, years later, 20, 30 years later into your marriage, that, people that are at your ceremony now might not be, with you any longer that far out. And that they held the rings in their hands, which is so sweet.
Which is always with them forever then.
Exactly.
Yeah, very nice.
It's very beautiful.
Good, very nice. And quite often I know that bride and grooms, you do allow them to write their own vows, is that correct?
Of course.
Okay.
They also have a uniquely used section of the ceremony resources. They have about 40 vows that they can choose from as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if they're having a hard time putting their thoughts down on paper, quite often they kind of cut and paste and mix and match those and add their own little thoughts in. But it does give them a guide of how long they should be and what that content should look like.
Right.
Because we don't want the the bride to go off and do, you know, this many vows and the groom
says, I love you too, babe.
Right, exactly. So we want there to be a little bit of consistency there in the length. But they can certainly write their own vows from scratch and send to me separately, so it's a surprise on the day of, which is always kind of fun too, when they don't know what each other is saying.
Yes.
One another, so it's a nice surprise.
That's more touching as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then we quite often like to prompt them, just, you know, we would never want them to memorize them. It's just too stressful. You don't need that added stress on your wedding day.
Right.
So they're going to just be prompted by their officiant.
That must be good because that keeps them a little bit more relaxed as well.
Absolutely.
During the ceremony, where they don't have to feel pressured to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, would you say that's your favorite part of the ceremony? What's your favorite part of the ceremony?
That's always fun, of course, when they're saying their vows for each other, especially when it's a surprise to each other. But my favorite part is obviously every time I get to do it. It's so exciting when I get to declare that they're husband and wife.
Yes.
And they get to kiss for the first time as a married couple, and I mean that's just, who else has a better job than that? I think we have the best jobs.
Yeah.
Being able to do that and just get to stand there. Of course, move out of the way of the kiss.
Right.
We don't want to be photobombing the kiss photo.
Yeah.
But getting to declare that they're husband and wife.
And I think that's very important as well. I mean, I've seen a lot of times where I'm at a ceremony and they declare the bride and groom as husband and wife, and they now kiss the bride, and the officiant's still standing there. But I've noticed that's something that, you take that time to move out of the way. This way they get that excellent shot in there, of the bride and groom kissing.
We try to just be mindful of working with all the different professionals on the day of.
Right.
And again, just remaining professional and, offering them something a little bit above, right? What other officiants
More than what other officiants would do.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
All right, it's that time of the show where we would like to leave our viewers with some advice on how couples can leave a lasting impression at their wedding. So what tips would you give to our viewers?
Well, one thing, I actually worked as a coordinator and a wedding planner for many years before becoming an officiant.
Yes.
And I think the best advice is to just keep it simple and don't let everybody else's opinions get in the way. So, just stick to your original plan.
Right.
Don't let it get out of control.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things you can add into your wedding that aren't really necessary. So just
Don't go overboard.
Don't go overboard.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. It's easier to keep organized. It's less to stress about.
Right.
Just keep it simple and just have a fun night with everybody.
One of the key things that you said there too, I often talk to clients and I say to them, it's not a bad thing to brainstorm and get ideas from people, but at the end of the day, do what is you and do what makes your wedding right for how you want to do it.
Exactly. It should reflect the two of you as a couple.
Exactly.
It should reflect your values and all of those things in the ceremony, and then it should reflect you as a couple at the reception too, right?
Yeah. And sometimes you have those family members that get involved, those pesky mother-in-laws kind of thing. They get in there and they want to do things their way. But at the end of the day, again, it is your wedding. Do it your way.
Exactly.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you very much, Cathy, once again for having us here today. If you want more information, you can always visit Cathy online. Cathy, what's the website they can visit you at?
It's CathyDavisandCompany.com.
And how about on social media?
You can find us on Pinterest, Cathy Davis & Co., as well as on Instagram, Cathy Davis Officiant, and Facebook, Cathy Davis & Company.
Perfect, and those links are going to be listed down below as well, so be sure to check those out. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact her at any time. Thank you, Cathy, once again. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, it was awesome.
Thank you. Awesome.